I am so excited to share the books that I am planning to read this year for Historathon. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm a mom to 4. I love to homeschool, I love to read good books, and I love to share both of those things on this channel. So if you also like those things, please consider subscribing. Historathon, the historical fiction readathon that I am co-hosting with Amanda over at the Curly Reader, it starts in a couple days. It starts February 1st. I will go ahead and link the announcement video I posted a couple weeks ago giving all the details for the whole readathon, including all the prompts and kind of an explanation of that. If you're thinking of hopping onto the readathon and you're looking for good recommendations, I just put out a video of some great recommendations for each prompt. So I will link that, go check that out. Go check out Amanda's channel for even more historical fiction goodness. I am a 4-book a month reader. That's pretty average for me. I'll probably try and push myself a little bit more for Historathon just because it's kind of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out 9 books total, including the group read this month for this TBR video, but know that odds are I won't be able to read all of these, and some of them could qualify for multiple prompts. So I'll probably try and do a little bit of that, and so you should do that too if you feel so inclined. Anyway, all that said, let's hop into what I'm planning on reading. So first prompt is a book set in a place that I have visited. So I have visited the Appalachian area. I lived in Baltimore for a year after undergraduate before I went to grad school, and then I drove cross country to Colorado, where I currently live. And I drove through the Appalachian Mountains. And so I picked this book because it is set in Kentucky, Appalachia, and it is The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek, and it's by Kim Michelle Richardson. And this book looks so good. It is about the traveling library. This has to do with a woman in Kentucky. She's part of a community that is just not very excited about this project, this book project. And then she in particular is shunned by her community, I believe because she has blue skin. So there's a lot of prejudice in that area, but she perseveres and brings books to people who don't have libraries and things like that. So I've been wanting to pick this up for a while, so this just gives me a reason. Next prompt is a multi-generational book. So I picked up Pachenko by Min Jin Lee. This starts in the early 1900s, I believe. Yes, in Korea. So this begins the story of this family. So there's a girl who is part of this very proud, but I think has become recently poor sort of family. And she gets pregnant, and the man who got her pregnant kind of ditches her, I think. And this minister agrees to marry her, but he has to move her to Japan. And so they move, they have more kids, and then they raise their kids there. So I think the point of view of this story changes to the children at some point. So this sounds really good, and I've heard nothing but good things. So Pachenko. Next is a book about a war that is not World War II. So I have picked The Diplomats Wife by Pam Jenoff. I have been wanting to pick up one of her books for a while. I have, what is it, Lost Girls in Paris? I haven't read it yet, but this book really fits the prompt well because it's told about this woman, Marta, who has survived the concentration camp. So the setting kind of starts just after World War II. But then she falls in love with an American soldier who then dies in like a plane crash or something like that, but she is pregnant. But then she marries Simon, a caring British diplomat, and starts her life with him. But for some reason, she learns about a communist spy in the British government, and it is somehow hooked in with her past. So it definitely kind of brings in more like Cold War kind of stuff, which I think is really interesting. I have not read any historical fiction about the Cold War era. So The Diplomat's Wife. Next is a book by a diverse author. So for that prompt, I picked the Ta-Nehisi Coates book. I got this from the library, sorry for the glare. It's The Water Dancer, and it's about a boy who is a slave on a plantation. His mom was taken and sold, I think, to a different plantation, but he was not allowed to go with her, and so he lost her at a very young age. But somehow she kind of left him this gift, and it had to do with water. He cannot be killed by water. So something happens in his childhood that kind of scares him that has to do with water, and then he realizes his gift. And then I think he decides to use it. Then I think he decides, well, maybe there's something he could do with that to, one, I think, try and escape slavery and leave the plantation, and 2, to try and maybe rescue his family in some way. I think he joins some sort of like a group that is involved in freeing slaves. I've heard great things about this author. So I'm really excited about this book as well. Next is the group read. Okay guys, I know I've explained this a number of times. It's The Yellowbird Sings by Jennifer Rosner. I'm really jazzed about this. It has to do with a girl and her mom who are in, I believe, Poland, and they're Jewish, and they are starting to hide out from the Nazis. And they're trying to hide out in different barns and places on people's property, and they have to be very, very quiet. The problem is the girl is like a prodigy. She is 5 years old and she can just sing really beautifully. And having a 5-year-old myself, I know that it's very hard for them also to be quiet. And so the mom has to kind of tell all these stories to her daughter to try and encourage her to be quiet, but yet it's still very suspenseful and intense. And they have to kind of make decisions as to what is the safest course of action, I think, as it comes to the Nazis getting closer and closer sort of idea. So this is a group read, so this is definitely going to be read, and I hope to engage with all of you on the Goodreads group for this book and the live show where we're going to talk more about this as well. So, The Yellowbird Sings. Next, for a historical fiction subgenre, I'm going with Lovely War, which initially I was thinking was kind of historical fantasy, but I think it actually is more historical romance, which I don't tend to read a lot of romance, so I'm kind of excited to try something that's just a little different. So it is a YA book told from the perspective of Aphrodite, which is the initial reason I thought it was like a fantasy book. But basically Aphrodite is speaking to her husband and Ares, her lover, and trying to explain why love and war go together, why love can survive something as epic as war. And she uses two different couples to show how that happened. And I think they're two different couples that Aphrodite, helped introduce and push towards each other sort of idea. So she tells their love story. So, Lovely War by Julie Berry. Next, no people on the cover. So my copy of this has no people on the cover. I realize that other copies too, but this is In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez. So this is about a group of sisters called the Butterflies in the Dominican Republic during the 60s, I believe. Yeah, 60s, during Trujillo's dictatorship, which was just terrible, and terrible things were happening. And I believe most of the sisters were married to husbands that were part of kind of the resistance or the underground, and they were trying to fight against the government. And the sisters get more and more involved. Then I think the husbands get captured, and then the girls get even more involved. And I think in the end they might even be executed. I'm not sure, or at least that's the way the real story goes. So it just, it sounds heartbreaking, but it really highlights this terrible time in history that I just didn't know very much about. So I really have been wanting to pick this up. So In the Time of the Butterflies. I'm going to read that. Next, I think it's The Prompt Set in Winter. I want to pick this book up. I think this has been on so many of my TBRs. So Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is about the last woman in Iceland to be executed. It begins after she did whatever she did to land herself on kind of death row. She gets placed on this farm kind of in a remote area of Iceland while the government is trying to acquire the equipment needed to do the execution. And then I think all the people are scared of her, and there's a minister, I believe, who's trying to kind of work with her and understand what happened and how did this happen. And I think you just learn more and more about the incident, which just sounds heartbreaking, but Iceland made me think of something that was very cold. So I picked this for my winter book. Okay, last prompt on the bingo board is a book with a person's name in the title, and so I picked The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've been wanting to read this for so long, since I've just heard so many good things about it. It is just about this woman who is a star. She made films. She was in Hollywood for like, I think 30 plus years, and then this story is kind of set on the premise that she retired or she left, and now she's telling her whole story to like a journalist or someone to write a book for her. And it goes through kind of how she got started, the different people involved, and all her 7 husbands. And I think some of them were love, some of them weren't, and then I think there's some sort of forbidden love going on in there. I'm not sure if it's one of the husbands or somebody else. I definitely want to pick this one up. So yeah, these are my plans for February for Historathon. It's going to be so much fun. I have never been looking forward to so much one of my TBRs as I am for this month. There's so many books on here that I've just been wanting to read forever. It's a big stack, and like I said, I'm more of a 4-book a month kind of reader, so we'll see how much of this I get to. I'm going to be very hopeful that I can get to most of them, but please let me know below if you are thinking of joining Historathon. Comment, let me know you're in, and also let me know some of the books you're thinking of reading. Or if you're just thinking of doing the group read, that would be wonderful too. So that is what I have for this video. Please consider liking it, subscribing to the channel if you aren't already subscribed, and I will see you in February for an epic reading month. All right, have a good day. All right, take care.